welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
You still sound so sick. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
You were sounding so much better, and then all of a sudden, and I'm John. Anyway, today we're talking about the Lady of Luminosity Lux. She was released October 19th, 2010. Forever. She's been in League forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah was like, she got released, like, we were at Riot when she got released. I was like, no.
Oh, Sarah, no, absolutely.
No fucking no.
No.
She's old as shit.
Yes. Not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah, so also joining us for this episode, we have very special Patreon guest, Kide.
If he said
Hello,
that, I guess.
everyone.
Hi.
Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm glad to
Hell
have you
yeah.
Yeah. Now, why did you decide to join us for Lux specifically?
Ooh.
I think I got so into Lux after I got the Elementalist Lux from a Hextech chest. And after that I started to OTP her in the league. And I don't know, I think that got me very into her. And I always liked her lore. So
Yeah. I love playing Lux. She always cheers me on.
Sure.
She's very positive.
Yeah,
She's super positive.
that's her thing.
I love
She's
it.
the opposite of the characters I play.
That's true.
It's
Where do you play Lux?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, this is very embarrassing, but I'm a Lux support OTP.
I'm also a Lux support.
Talking to one. Yeah.
Nothing
Throwing some mad
embarrassing.
shade on Rebecca right now.
Right? Was I supposed to be embarrassed about
I
that?
hate to admit this because these people are the worst, but
She's so fun, support.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's true, yeah. It's fun to one-shot people.
Mm.
And then there's other teams where it's just not fun. And you're like, why did I pick Lux? I do that all the time. There's 4 tanks over there. What was I thinking?
Oh yeah, or when enemy picks Zed, and then you get like first blood in the champ select.
Yeah.
Like you just
Oh,
die.
God, yeah. It's bad.
You know, man, he just jumps around a bunch. Just hit your Q on that guy who just hops
Just
around.
hit your
Oh my
skill
God.
shots.
Hit your skill shots, man.
It's impossible. Yeah, I can't play against champs like that when I'm playing Lux because I cannot anticipate where the fuck Zed's going. Akali, Aurelia, I don't know. You're fucking everywhere all the time. I just can't figure it out. Lux has a lot of lore on the universe page. She has a bio, a comic, 3 short stories, a portrait that looks like her yearbook photo, and a video called Binding Light. I don't get the portrait. This is similar to the little Blanc one, right? I'm curious when they did these.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good question.
But she looks like the girl next door. She's got like this little headband on. And it looks like her senior yearbook photo. And I don't understand why it's there.
I don't mind that because that's almost the space she's in a lot of the time is
That's true.
about that. At least it like looks like her kind of normal, right? Like the thing with the LeBlanc one is that it was like, it looked weird to me. I'm not an artist, but
I can't pinpoint why, but it was fucked.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
No, that happens. I'm not an artist either. So sometimes I'm looking at something and I'm like, something's wrong. Couldn't tell you why.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it
I don't
is.
like it.
Yeah.
I get it. Did you end up finding more short stories or anything, John? I feel like I'm surprised the fucking comics linked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there aren't a lot of short stories. The only ones that are on the wiki that aren't on Universe are the ones that she's like a part of that are other people's stories. So like,
Okay.
you know, she's mentioned in Garen's bio, Silas's bio, Garen's short story. She's got some old lore that she's a part of, but for the most part, all her shit's actually on Universe.
Damn. Well,
Yeah.
Riot loves Lux.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why the comics linked.
Yeah.
Yup.
It's also named after her. It'd be a real slap in the face to
Yeah.
I mean,
You know what?
I think there were
almost kinda-
several.
Right? I kind of wish it wasn't linked because that would be just great. Like, awesome. Oh, man.
Yeah. All right, I'll fly through the bio real quick because we already know all this shit.
Yeah.
I would say
I don't.
Before that, do we
there.
want
I would say there's less, huh?
Oh, I'm gonna say before we do that, do we want to do the
Oh
the
my
most
god,
important part?
impressions.
Yeah,
forgot.
absolutely. I hope you prepared an impression.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have
Oh,
a Lux
yes.
impression on hand?
Excellent.
I did.
Ooh, I didn't think of one. Demacia!
Oh
It's
shit.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Going whole hog with it. In the name of Demacia, I will punish you.
Oh, hell yeah.
Beautiful.
That's nice. Should I go next?
All right, your turn.
I don't have dark secrets. I have bright ones.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm a crown god, but you wear the crown. You're a light shield, but I wield the light. But I mean metaphorically, Your Highness.
You gave her a little bit of a British accent at the beginning, which was interesting.
Indeed.
You know, it's the COVID.
I think it's
probably.
the COVID. He's healed, by the way. We could be
symptom.
near each other again. I'm a crown god.
I say.
Ooh,
Daddy would be
Duty.
most displeased.
Papa.
we're really
Wow.
railing
We
on
have
the
a lot of
Brits
shit to
right now.
talk
I'm so
about, yeah.
sorry. It's the only accent we do in America. It's a British accent.
Not well, for the
Oh,
record.
no. Never. That's the point. All right, so Lux. Lux is a normal girl in Demacia.
Now, you can't make that joke because one of her AUs, that's literally how it opens.
Really?
Yes.
That's great.
Awesome.
In Demacia even specifically?
Uh,
No, Demacia is not usually in the AUs.
it's not. Let's see.
Demacia,
Hold
maybe.
on.
Demaxi. I thought I was gonna be able to say she wasn't a normal girl in Demacia because I don't know why, but I thought Lux knew about her magic early.
Space groove.
It's Space Groove.
a normal girl from a normal world. is specifically how it's.
To your point, Rebecca,
That's
I think there's an inconsistency in the bio with the Garen short story, the
yes.
one where he talks with the hag or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. There are. Yeah. Okay, but anyway. Lux comes from the Crown Guard family. They're very respected, blah, blah, blah. Garen goes off to be a soldier boy, so Lux was expected to take care of the many estates, which she hated. She wanted to see the world, so Lux discovered her magic one night when she's attacked by Sabre wolves. Do you like the little office joke I threw in there? I'm disappointed about how long there was a pause there.
I did like imagining that she was just reenacting that scene from like Beauty and the Beast when the wolves attacked, and that's how she discovered her magic.
Yeah.
That would work well with that animation.
Right?
Yeah, she saves herself with her light fingers or whatever. Demacia sucks and they don't like magic, so she's all upset, but she starts to practice on her own in secret. At 16, she travels to the great city of Demacia, and she became friends with Kahina? Is that how we say that?
Yeah, that's how I was
Sure.
thinking it.
Sure. And they're a knight of the Order of Illuminators who help the sick, and that's kind of all we know about them. There's like a really quick line, like, they like helping the sick. So Lux likes them. The bio ends with her enjoying the capital and wanting more for Demacia because she loves her home. And as we said, this is very inconsistent with like a bunch of stories that we are going to talk about later.
Yeah.
Like her mom, there's like this whole part about her mom like knowing about her magic and trying to stifle it and like hiring people to like, I don't know, get it out of her somehow. And it's very more traumatizing. She gets like the Elsa treatment.
Yeah.
In the short stories and stuff. And in the bio, they're like, she just practiced her magic and she likes it now.
Yeah. I don't know what happened here, I'll be honest. I feel like we're looking at like the ruins of something that happened, because when you look at like the old bio, like the one before this, it's a lot more detailed, and it goes into like Kahina gets more like she shows up in the, like, there's a single line about this character who doesn't show up ever again ever, where it's like, who even is this? But in the old bio she gets a bit more. In the old bio, it does reference the Flesh and Stone story, and this idea that she went to Demacia at 16, even though I don't think that's true either, right? Like, because there's other stories we've looked at, like Flesh and Stone, where she's in Demacia at 13, right? And it talks about them visiting every
I don't know.
year.
I was so confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something's weird. Something happened.
Yes. I was actually pretty confused who this Kahina is also. But actually I was like reading Sona earlier. So actually Kahina is adoptive sister of Sona. I mean, Sona is adoptive sister of Kahina.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
That would have been good
she
to
comes
know.
from the
Connection.
House Bouvel. Yeah.
Do they talk more about the Illuminators and what they are? or
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
So the Illuminators are this order, which is supported by the generous donations of the Bouvel House, which is the parents of Kahina.
Okay.
Which also has Sona as their adoptive girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but I had to do a lot of research to find this this information.
We get
I think Riot forgot about them.
I think they did.
Yeah,
I mean, they show up in the comic.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
And they show up we've seen them elsewhere. We saw them in Kale. We can piece together a little bit of what they are because they show up in the short stories too. They're like a quasi-religious order. They seem to be have some sort of function with magical children. Like in the comic, she talks about I go and help afflicted children, and by afflicted I assume they mean mage. So it seems like an avenue through which a mage child could be handled, maybe a little better than the mage seekers. I don't know. I would like more
throwing them in prison next to Silas.
Yeah. Again, I don't know. It's a weird thing to throw into the bio with no supporting anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the bio of Lux could be a little bit longer, but I don't know. Maybe Lux has just too much stories and lore to get all together in a biography. I don't know.
That's fine. Sometimes bios are like that, where it's here's just the starting place, and then you get more of the development through the stories. I just want it to be, a little consistent.
Yeah.
As well.
It'd just be great if they didn't contradict each other.
That's it. I think they had, this was the groundwork, and then they fleshed it out through other means, and then they never corrected themselves, really.
It's weird, though, because like I said, there's a previous version of this bio that references, short stories like Flesh and Stone. So I feel like they came back, and I think part of the issue is that the old bios, I think, were before they made Demacia so, 100% mage seekers, anti-mage, right? In the old bio, there's this group called, I think, the Radiant Ones, and they're essentially magic secret ops that do work for the Demacian government. So the idea that they have this little secret group of mages that they do actually use, and I think that's been done away with entirely. So I think they've had to come back and just change things, and it's just been kind of it's fine. She's got a bunch of other lore. The bio doesn't need to be perfect. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
Another question I had about Kahina too is it mentioned that they were teaching Lux martial training and everything like that, and man, I would love to see that reflected in anything that she does.
Yeah,
I feel like the only evidence we see of her martial training is her tripping over herself when almost getting attacked in the Warriors cinematic.
I was just thinking about that.
I think it doesn't fit, honestly.
Yeah.
I think having her train for stamina would make sense, because if you look at her in game and just how she works in the world, she's maybe in shape, but she certainly doesn't know how to fight without relying on her magic.
She does
and
cardio.
I think that's fine. She's a mage. Yeah, she does cardio
cross
for
country.
sure. She baton twirls. She's real fucking good. But she's not learning how to throw punches and stuff, and that's okay. She doesn't have to know how to throw a punch.
I would think even I would just assume that a Demacian's child, especially one of the Crown Guards, gets some sort of basic, just 2 years of military service type thing, right? They just get a little bit of basic training.
Or just that Garen would have given her some basic training. You're my sister, or I want you to be able to defend yourself.
That'd be sweet, honestly. As a little bonding thing between them. I mean, she does shoot Silas. Now, it's not a great shot, but she does shoot him with a crossbow. So there's a little bit of thing
point blank, but she hits it.
I'm going to be honest. I think I could shoot a big man with a crossbow as well, and I've never shot a crossbow before.
It's true. It does seem very, point and fire, right?
Yeah, I think I can figure it out.
Okay, but after this scene where Lux is shooting her crossbow, she actually stabs Silas's feet with the knife. So
that was a baller move.
Yeah, maybe she has a little bit of melee.
That's stabbing someone that
rough.
takes a lot.
That takes something. That's
through
different
the
than a
foot.
crossbow.
Yeah.
I will need that one in the league as well. Sometimes when these assassins just get too close, I wish I had that knife and
Right, that should be her new
agree.
passive.
We need to, we need to give Lux a knife in game. Riot, can you give her a knife?
Please do.
Everyone should have a melee attack.
Right.
Oh man.
So the last thing I noticed about the bio, they talked at the beginning of the bio how when she was like being brought up and everything, she questioned all the teachings of her superiors and asked and like tried to learn knowledge beyond what she should have learned and everything. And I couldn't help but thinking that like Lux is what would have happened if Diana were rich and blonde.
Yeah.
Doing the exact same shit that Diana did, except Diana was like they were like, hey, shut up. You're not a crown guard.
That's true.
Yeah.
Stand in the sun.
You're too fucking pale. That would be a fun pairing to see them as friends or something, because they are very similar in that way. But I think Diana is a little bit more miserable about her situation, which again, she wasn't rich and blonde, so I don't know what being blonde has to do with it, but yeah. Whereas Lux she had people pushed back, but they also were like, "Oh, Lux, you're so fucking cute. We can't be mad at you.
Mad at you, yeah.
You can't stay mad at you, Lux."
You're right, though. Right, there was a lot. That would be a fun pairing for sure. I'd be done with
like that.
All right.
All right. Stories. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Where shall we begin?
I figured
or
we'd
the
try and
comic.
do it.
I don't know which one.
I was thinking we try and do it chronologically because there's there's like Flesh and Stone takes place when she's 13, so it definitely happens before any of the other stories, and then probably I think like the comic's probably the most recent thing. We kind of do that last if we're trying to follow the arc of Lux.
Is the chronological order is of course like Flesh and Stone for Demacia, Last Light, and then the comic.
Yeah. And Last Light, Last Light for Demacia, I think probably around the same time would be my guess. I don't know for sure. It's a little non-specific, but all right. We'll do Flesh and Stone. It's by John O'Brien. The bio, by the way, by Graham McNeil, of all fucking people, to do this weird bio. I don't know.
I don't think he wanted to do it. I'm going to be honest.
Do you think was the last version by him too? By the way, I'm curious if he wrote that and then
someone came in and edited it.
Came in to edit it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that's a reasonable guess.
Graham McNeil doesn't write things. I can't.
Short?
Yes, but I was trying to think of the better word for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway,
so we talked about this with Galio. We talked more on the Galio side of things, but it's following Lux. She's on the verge of tears. She's walking to get out of the city walls, and she kind of breaks down once she gets out of eyesight of anyone. And we kind of see that earlier that day, her magic almost, got out in the middle of class, right? I was trying not to be like polite about this. She almost popped a light boner in front of the whole class, right? It's traumatic. Sure. It's sad. Her magic almost comes out. She just runs out of class. And she goes and she stands in front of Galio, and she notices that the eye moves and is looking at her, and so she runs off. And eventually she goes home like way later that night. Her mom is there waiting for her, and she is pissed off. And obviously her mom is aware of what's going on with her magic, and her mom, whose name I don't remember, has arranged to have an annuller come secretly, kind of come in on the sly. And I know we've talked about them before, but probably come and apply petricite to like tamp down the magic and kind of keep it on the down low. Now, it sounds shitty. Seems like a really shitty thing to go through. Lux kind of has like a aha moment and sneaks out to go to Galio and to see if because he's supposed to absorb magic. Oh, he can fix me. He'll take away my magic. And suddenly Galio wakes up and he's, all up and about and walking around. And, she understandably freaks out and kind of runs away, but they start having a little back and forth. Galio doesn't want to go. He loves being around Lux. He sees how through the years her family will always come and visit this big statue, and every year her magic is getting more powerful, and he is like starts to anticipate her coming. It's just like, ooh, I can feel it tingling in my toes when Lux is on the horizon. Galio doesn't want to go back to sleep. Lux kind of agrees, like, if you will just stop moving and pretend to be asleep, I'll sleep near you. And he agrees, but she sneaks off. And she runs off into the woods. She tries to use magic to kind of find her way through, and is discovered by some random group of dudes who happen to be in the woods at the same time. And they're getting ready to kind of like take her off to the slums because they think she's just a wayward mage. And Galio shows up and saves her. And so, later that night, Galio and Lux are kind of hanging out. They've They've come to be fast friends. Lux wants to use... She's like, oh, you're perfect. You can just take all my magic out and I'll be, done. And Galio's like, no, you need to hold on to that. That's important. And it's more important than me being awake and alive. So she goes home, I guess that morning at this point. It's been an all-night thing. And, feeling appreciated. She comes home and her mom's there with the annuler. And she just tells him to fuck off. And goes to her room feeling all happy. And ready to, try and master this thing, I guess is kind of where she leaves it. That's mostly it summary-wise.
So I think... So the analogy, the coming out analogy, I guess, with Lux, which I think is pretty clear in a lot of her stories, is very strong in this one specifically.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of very kind of one-to-ones here.
Sure. Yeah, especially this one. Yeah,
I wrote some kind of examples and quotes of the journey. So we've got kind of the self-shame. The other side of her, this ugly and decidedly un-Demacian one, was a face the girl shared with nobody. And then you've got the exhaustion of having to hide it from people. If they stopped her, she felt she might break down and spill everything to them. At least then it would be all over, she thought. And then the feelings always being there, but then getting stronger and harder to hide the older you get. Then there was the glow. Ever since she could remember, Lux felt it burning in her heart, longing to burst free. When she was small, the glow was weak, and she could easily conceal it. Now the power had become far too great to stay hidden. And then there's the pain some parents would put their children through to, quote-unquote, fix them. Lux had heard rumors, horrible rumors, of petricite ground and swallowed in potions, followed by bouts of excruciating pain. Then you've got the final acceptance of someone close. This was a Galio quote. The Colossus tilted his head at her. You are Demacian. You belong in Demacia. That's when she was like, I don't belong anywhere. And then the final acceptance of self. I'm not afflicted, Lux cried out. I'm beautiful and valuable, and one day I will prove it to this kingdom, and if anyone has a problem with me, I've got a very large friend they can talk to. It was a wonderful journey.
Yeah.
Who do you think her mom thought she was talking about?
Ooh, maybe her brother?
Maybe. It's I don't know if you met Garen lately, but he's...
Yeah. If you don't like it, Mom, I'm going to get your son to kick your ass. Oh, man. I love this story. This is a really good one.
I like this story a lot, too. I mean, I had one thing I had to write up, instantly after I was reading these lines. But like Mark asked, Lux's mother name is Augatha. But in this story on the universe page, it was written 2 times Augutha and 5 times Augatha. So I don't know, some people might be a little confused which one it is, but in the wiki page it says it's Augatha.
Well, I'm one of them, so
Right. Her mom's original name was Lilia.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
I gotta say, I'm drafting a novel right now, and there's a character whose name I keep spelling differently. So I kind of understand when you're drafting that sometimes that happens. Where I'm like, where does this I go again? Why can't I fucking remember where this I goes?
This is going to be a Dwiggett situation.
Another Office reference.
Wow. It's going to be that episode, huh? Yeah, I like this one too. I like the Galio-Lux interactions a ton. I think that's really where for me, it kind of shines, is once he's awake and they're interacting and he's in this, he's all crazy and bombastic and she's just desperately you need to stop fucking moving right now because they're going to know I'm age. He's like, let them see. It's I need you to shut the fuck up, Galio, please. Right? Or there's this moment where he's like,
no chill.
Yeah, whatever. She's like, all right, well, I'm going to go now. That time I hit the old dusty tray. This was fun. This was wondrous and magical, but they're gonna notice if you're gone. So that whole thing, them both interacting, is a ton of fun, I'd say.
So I know Demacian schools are strict and all, but the fact that she left school once and then her mom was like, the school has chosen not to expel you, but this was not an easy mess to fix.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
I guess that's like part of the we can see some of the issue with Lux's home life even is that if your kid like I guess her mom knows what's going on, but still, right, like your kid ran crying out of like class one day, your first thought isn't like, hey, what's going on, what happened, but rather like, you're pretty fucking lucky you didn't get expelled, right? You know, this was a big pain in my ass, you know.
Yeah.
Their mom's the worst, honestly.
Yeah. Yes. I don't have anything to add to that. Just yes. Right?
Yeah. Do they have a dad? I don't remember.
They do, but he doesn't ever show up anywhere ever. He exists.
Okay.
He's around.
Yeah, he's another one that's named, but not shown. And also has a different name than he used to have.
Yeah, he used to be Marcus, I think.
Yeah.
Marcus.
That's what the Duke
He's just too busy at the office. He's like that 90s dad who doesn't have time for his family. He needs to go through something.
He's got TPS reports to file. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Make secrets all over my ass.
Someone needs to make it so he can't lie, and then he'll learn how to love his family.
I'll have time for my kids soon.
But yeah.
Why were those all the 90s movies we were watching?
I don't know. You had a lot of directors listening to, like, Cats in the Cradle in the 90s.
Their dads were not around.
What did y'all think?
Anyway.
What did y'all think of because she has a mantra that she kind of is repeating throughout the story, and I think, I remember what the details of it was. It's like, ooh, the light, the shadows fade before the light, something like that. And at the end, she's like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to change it to shadow thrives besides the light. I feel like I didn't really get it, but maybe I'm just an idiot. You know what I mean?
She's 13. I don't think.
You know what? That's a fair point.
It's like a too deep for you MySpace quote.
Yeah. I think maybe that's what's going on.
Oh, I definitely could have seen that under somebody's selfie on MySpace back in the day.
I just feel like, you know, she's like, a light can never actually kill shadows. I'm like, I think it can.
It kind of can.
Yeah.
You get enough of it.
Right? I mean, it happens later on in the, you know, for Demacia or whatever. So
she runs out of class. She didn't learn about shadows.
You ever learn one thing about shadows, Lux, where you go?
Yeah. Only she had stayed that day.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
solid.
no, I didn't get it.
And then the only other thing is, like, to me, it is a little weird that, because she's like tramping just through like the woods outside of Demacia, and like there happen to be these people in like the middle of the night, like when she happens to try to use her magic. It seems like I don't know, maybe massage it a little bit to make it make a little more sense to me, like if she's outside of town, or like she tries to use the light and it flares up and she suddenly sees these like like if they were like bandits or something like that. But it seems like they're just, you know, dutiful Demacian citizens who are like, oh, you're a mage, you need to be in the slums, we'll go do a citizen's arrest or whatever, you know what I mean?
Why the fuck were like, excuse me, why are you out here actually, sir?
I feel like the read I got
chasing
on
little
that,
girls.
I feel like the read I got more on that was that they were probably like mercenaries who camp out there waiting to find mages to
who are trying
return
to
them back for
escape.
like money or shit
Sure.
like that.
That could make sense.
Yeah, like a line where she was like, oh, I've seen these guys who do this before, these mage catchers or whatever, you know, rat catchers, something like that. Just something
Coin
like that.
seekers.
Yeah, something like that. And that's like, fine.
A bounty hunter. We already have a name for this.
I like coin seeker.
Look, it's a fantasy story. We can't just call them things that exist in the real world. We have to make up bullshit terms, all right?
Fantasy bounty hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, what I got when I was reading the story, I was like thinking maybe they're like some sort of guards in the forest.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling. They were like kind of they patrol or something
Yeah.
like that, like the limits. Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
just I think all I want is just a line,
I don't know.
just to tell me who these people are, you know? Because otherwise it feels very like a little heavy-handed from like the writer's perspective of like, oh, we need to put her in this situation, so like there's just people here. And it's like, just explain to me what they're doing here and who they are, and then I'm fine. That's all I want.
We need to give her one more chance to fail to show her martial prowess.
She's 13. She hasn't had them yet, John.
Hey, she got a punch.
That's true. That's true.
Which, you know, she knocked a guy off his feet with one punch, which from a 13-year-old, it's like,
That's
good
fair.
job.
I don't think I could do that now as a grown adult, unless I was punching like a kid or something. Not that I do those
Again.
things.
There's only one way to find out. Let's go find some 13-year-olds. Oh, man.
No, a 13-year-old could kick my ass for sure.
It's scrappy.
It's got to be like 7, you know?
Okay, now we gotta find out.
Just put me in a ring with some
That motherly
13-year-olds.
instinct really
Put me
hitting
in,
you.
coach.
Okay, but one other thing I was like thinking about is if you're 13 in the middle of the night in the forest, will you go out alone or will you stay with this colossal magical stone statue?
I guess, like,
I guess
if
if you
you're
weren't
more
expecting
afraid.
men there to capture you, if you
Yeah.
thought it was just the woods, you might.
Yeah. She probably feels, like, generally safe in Demacia. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just showing that her fear for the giant stone golden retriever was greater in that moment.
Yeah.
That'll teach her to feel safe in Demacia as a mage.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
don't
that's
run out
kind
at
of
night.
yeah, like that's speaking to where she's at mentally, where it's like she, not even thinking. It's just like I just need to get the fuck out of here, and it's not
Yeah.
like probably not even considering what potential. There's Sabra wolves all over the fucking.
Sorry.
I'm a crown guard. What are they going to do to me?
Yeah.
I've got blonde hair.
But yeah. Only other thing, I like the art. There's like every story or most of them will have little art pieces, and I love the art for this. And really, like all of her stories have this like kind of hand drawn, black and white inked sort of style art that they've done, and I really like them for all of them. They're really cool. I'd like to just see them stand alone somewhere. Or do a comic in that style. I don't know, something crazy like that.
Something wild. Put a comic. You make a comic and don't link it anywhere.
Well, actually, so they did kind of do a Lux cinematic that is in that art style that they didn't link anywhere. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And-
That was
I'm
part of
sorry.
like the animators workshop.
That is linked
The
on
same
the
one
universe.
that they had like a.
We're talking about
Oh,
like,
is it?
the Binding Light one, where it was all drawn by Mr.
Oh, yeah,
Keen,
yeah.
the
That's-
Disney.
Oh
art.
yeah.
Yeah, that's on their universe.
That's the
page.
only video that's linked, actually. Warriors isn't there, but
Oh.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. So do we want to do For Demacia next, and then we'll do Last Light? Does that sound good? Or we can do it
Sure.
in reverse order. Yeah, because those I think are about probably the same time. For Demacia, I think this is by Graham McNeil, right?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't
It's a
write
long
down.
one.
Yeah, it's a long one. We talked about it with Garen because he does show up. But Lux is traveling north. She's going to Foss Barrow. It's where a tomb of her ancestor Fossian, I think his name was, slew a demon there. So they've got kind of a shrine, whatever. They honor him there. She arrives. She's planning on staying at an Illuminator temple, and she gets to the gates, and they kind of let her through. And she kind of picks up that something's going on. The guy mentions like, "Oh, the magistrate will be relieved that you're here." And the guards look exhausted, and they kind of have this stinger line at the end of the section where he's like, "Are you here to end our nightmare?" She meets with this Illuminator named Pernilly Vanilli.
That sounds good.
An Illuminator who's running the place, we assume. And we learn that, the magistrate's son, Luca, has been missing for a couple days. People think he's been kind of taken or is being used by a dark mage in some way. And she's like, oh, why? And Pernil is like, you'll ask me again in the morning. So the next morning, she wakes up from this terrible nightmare. And there's like traces of lingering magic. And it's just, she's exhausted. And, she sees that Pernil is also exhausted. Even her horse seems to have not slept well. It's like something is happening here. She's going through the town and she sees that everyone's being affected. People are beleaguered. They can barely even start the day. Whereas like an industrious Demacian town by dawn would be, up and about. And like there's barely anything open. But she rides off into the woods. There's actually a bit where she's just kind of enjoying being, because like the further you get from Demacia, it seems like the more natural magic kind of like starts seeping like through. And she's kind of enjoying being able to just like, I can kind of let it out a little bit, air it out. But suddenly things start getting a little weird and eerie, and the forest is like silent, and there's like creeping shadows where even though it's like noon, so there's like almost, there shouldn't be any, but they start kind of like creep up on her, and like this voice starts whispering to her, and she almost like just falls asleep on her horse. But then Garen and company show up, and he's got like 4 Dauntless Vanguard people in tow. They're all, heroes, and they spend the day, 6 of them, I think, kind of looking for Luca. They go around the town. They don't find anything. And they get back to Foss Barrow where shit is going down. There's a big crowd in the center of town. They've got a guy who they accuse of being in league with the Dark Mage, who had definitely actually killed his family and some neighbors with an axe before they finally stopped him. And the magistrate's freaking out. It kind of comes out that she thinks that this guy who they've got has done something to Luca, her son. And it comes out that, her son was a mage, and that's what she thinks has happened, that something has happened to him because he has magic. And Lux is kind of trying to figure it out. Tensions are very high. It's a very chaotic moment, but the magistrate sort of sentences this murderer guy to summary execution, and Garen carries it out before they can get any more answers. And that's when things go even more haywire, because like shadows start spewing out of this guy's like dead body. All of the crowd goes silent and then fall down, and all these crazy shadow nightmares show up. So Lux is going to ride off to their ancestor's tomb from way back at the start of this to go try and figure out what's going on, while Garen and company stay and fight. For some reason they decide to stay put and we're going to fight these off. Lux gets to the tomb. She sees Luca is there. He's possessed by a demon, Nocturne, and Nocturne was kind of not actually dead, but just sort of in a dormant state and able to tap into Luca's magic and all of the fear that was kind of inside him because he's a mage in Demacia, right? Lux and Nocturne kind of have a little back and forth. He casts hold person on her or whatever. Like she's kind of paralyzed, but she kind of fights through it and makes this connection with Luca and pours all of her magic in, and it kind of casts out Nocturne. She kind of is able to connect with Luca and get him back. And when that happens, all of those nightmares that Garen and co, who are about to die. I don't know. Things are pretty dire. They all just kind of like drift off, like they just like just disintegrate into the wind. And after that, Lux and Garen are kind of like, they're kind of sitting down, not sitting, they're standing and watching kind of the aftermath, and they have a little back and forth, and Garen just kind of lays out like, look, here's why I killed that guy, and this is why I have to be uncompromising, because we live in a dangerous world, and we've got enemies on all sides, and we can't afford to be, to look into the nuances of the whys and what for is, etc. For Demacia is like kind of the ending lines between the two of them. So, yeah, so that's the summary, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Lux's horse, for the record, is named Starfire, which is such a Lux name for a horse.
This is referenced in the Fiddlesticks trailer, yes?
I think so, yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I think the Helmet Bros
everyone
are
was
like,
everyone's on edge since Fosparrow.
Yeah.
Which is a neat detail to pull into like something completely unrelated. I guess it's a little related. He is a fear demon, but it's a neat thing to be like, oh, this happened, and it didn't just happen in isolation. Like people heard about it, and people started getting freaked out, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this one as like a lot of Graham McNeil's works. He paints a very vivid picture of a lot of things, like the sequence about her kind of waking up and remembering the nightmare. I found pretty effective. The way it kind of leverages like senses like taste and smell, especially like she's got this taste of like rancid milk in her mouth, and she's like, ooh, that's the taste of magic. That's that lingering magic taste,
No wonder Demacia doesn't like it.
Right?
They actually don't dislike magic. They just all really dislike milk.
Well, rancid milk specifically.
But yeah,
what
like
animals do you think they drink milk from in Demacia?
Silverwings and griffins.
Oh, did they say that?
They have cows, right? Maybe.
It's fantasy world. You can't have cows.
Do they have any
It would be called
Enochs
cows.
there?
Be like cow bears or something.
Yeah.
Or Alistar.
What I was curious, because she had her little nightmare, and then she
her little nightmare,
and then she went outside and saw that her horse clearly had a nightmare too. What do you think horses have nightmares about?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's a good question.
You think every horse nightmare is just that scene from Neverending Story?
I think so.
Aww.
Yeah. Treyu. Yeah. That, or like maybe they're worried like Gragas is gonna try to ride him.
Yeah.
Of course.
He's a big boy.
Or maybe there's no carrots anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. No sugar cubes.
Carrots.
What are we gonna do? Get fused with Hecarim.
Yeah.
But
oh, that's just their nightmare. It's just Hecarim.
Yeah,
we
we
get more face splitting imagery in this one too. This is the
OG.
Another one of those. The OG grinning into face splitting imagery.
Yeah.
It's the Graham McNeil, Anthony Reynolds special.
I really like the Joker or something. I don't know what it is.
I mean, I like it. I like the whole like that interaction with Luca is nice and creepy. It talks like he's talking to her, right? And he's got Nocturne inside of him. And he's like, "Oh, you've got nightmares aplenty. I think I'll crack your skull open and scoop him out." You know, it's like that's a creepy little line, little weirdo. Yeah. And yeah, there's another little thing too with her and Garen where they're like reminiscing a little bit, and he's kind of talking about like, oh, I remember you hated coming here, and you let everybody know it. Everybody knows when Lixana Crown Guard doesn't like something, and I kind of like the idea of her being like someone who gets a little like pouty, or like when they don't like something, they really like show it and like just let everyone know like I fucking hate doing this.
Oh yeah, I wrote that line up. I just lost it when I read that.
Yeah.
When young Lixana Crown Guard doesn't enjoy something, the sky is darkened, rain clouds empty, and forest animals hide.
I like the idea that she's got really high highs and then she's got really low lows too.
Yeah.
As positive as she is, if she doesn't like something, she's gonna be just as negative about it.
Yes.
That's a vibe. I can get with that. Like a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing at the end, I wasn't a huge fan of like the conversation she and Garen had at the end, because it seems like Garen and Lux weren't actually arguing opposite sides of anything at the end. It's like Lux was saying that like the townsfolk really rushed to judge before understanding the root of the problem, and Garen was like, well, we have to deal in absolutes to protect ourselves, but like those can both be true. You can deal in absolutes, but if you do, you probably should take the time to ask a few questions to understand the absolute you're dealing with. Those don't have to exist in isolation.
No, you form your own absolute idea based on one little thing that somebody says or does. That's what Demacia does.
I mean, you're not wrong, right? Like it, like that. Like to her point, she could have probably argued against it more and been like, okay, well, you didn't know what was going on, and only one of us actually solved this fucking problem. You know what I mean? Like,
how was your fighting the shadows working, Garen?
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't know how shadows work either, I guess. They're just not very good at shadows in the Crown Garden family.
They attack the darkness.
Okay, another thing I loved about this story was in the beginning when they were talking about the journey Lux was like taking to the Fossbarrow, like from Demacia to Edessa, then to Pinara, Lissus, and so on. I like how they write how long it takes to travel from point A to B, because I have always the universe map open so I can connect more to the stories, you know.
Nice.
Really?
That's smart. Yeah.
Was it neat to be able to like track the journey like northward?
I mean, for me, it makes the story more like clear. I can follow it more easily if I just watch the map. So that's why I always hate it when there's no like the town name on the universe map. I'm just looking for it ages and ages.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
that's cool. That's a nice detail.
Yeah, I thought it was neat too how it would talk about like there was a line in there about how like every settlement she went to, the walls were always higher. Like the further away from Demacia you got, the more defensive things would get. It's neat. It's neat too because it's like again that idea that the further away you get from Demacia, the more those natural magics start kind of coming out. So it's like, oh, we're really in the boonies. You know what I mean? Like things are we're really far away. It's cool. It's an effective way of again. A lot of these Graham McNeil stories very effective at kind of communicating those ideas, you know, through the way that they're written.
Yeah. And it seems like, at least from the first Shield novella too, like the further you get away from Demacia proper too, like the higher chance that fucking Noxus is just going to take your settlement.
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually neat to see that same river mentioned here from that, because I think they take that river, the Serpent River. I don't remember what the full name of it is. Serpentrion or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, I know that. They sailed up that. That's fun. Yeah. Yeah, this is a solid one, I think.
All right.
All right.
You want to take us through Last Light?
Oh yes, I do. So, The Last Light. It was written by Graham McNeil. It's not the longest story, but it's still very good. I love it. So, the earthquake had struck Terbisia, and the soldiers were trying to find survivors, but mostly they just found corpses from the ruins. So, Lux dismounted Starfire as she reached the pavilion and pushed inside. There were hundreds of survivors on wooden blankets. Surgeon Alzar, she said, tell me how I can help. Truly, you are a blessing, my lady, but I will spare you the horror of what happened here, Alzar said. Spare me nothing, I am Demacian, and Demacians help one another, Lux replied. So Alzar told Lux to go spend the last moments with a hero who rescued a family from their collapsed home and kept looking for survivors. But there was a second earthquake and another building fell over him. So Lux sat next to this dying man, and the man was named Dothan. Lux took his hand and he said, "It's so dark." Lux was having some sort of small talk and conversations with him, blah blah blah. She was telling him how brave a hero you are, blah blah blah. And then after a while, Dothan asked, "Why can't I see?" And Lux replied, "Surgeon Alzar told me you have shards of glass in your eyes." And Dothan said, "I'm dying, I know that, but I should have liked to behold the light of Demacia one last time." So Lux looked around and saw that no one was watching. Eased the numinous radiance of her magic down through the man's skull to the undamaged parts of his eyes. "I can't heal you," she said, "but I can at least give you that." "It's so beautiful," he whispered.
Wonderful.
And then he died.
And then he yelled out, "Mage, there's a mage over here."
John!
Please don't do that.
Could you imagine? That's how fucked Demacia is.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I really like this story, too. I'm curious, like, you said you really liked this one as well. And you know, for such a short story, I enjoyed it a lot. You know, what was it that you really, that did it for you?
I mean, I think why I like this story so much is because, the story doesn't, move anywhere. It happens all in the same place. But we still get enough detail to get so into it, and I don't know.
Sure.
I think it gives me, the side of Lux which we were, maybe asking for, because in the bio there it says stuff like she wants to help people and she's so positive and wants to help everyone, blah blah blah. So maybe this story is covering that part of it.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Actually, that's like a minor almost complaint I have about some of the other stories, is that they're good, but I feel like we almost miss out on some of that sort of optimistic, very positive, like you're saying, super helpful Lux, and this is a nice way of showing it, you know. And like I said, very short, but very effective. Like, we get a lot of her personality through those interactions, and again, Riot finds a lot of success when there's not it's not a lot of action. She's just sitting with this dying guy and just doing and using her magic in this unique way to help him, right? They find success in those quiet moments, I think.
Yeah. I think this and the Lux comics, I think, were probably the best in terms of actually showcasing Lux trying to help people, because I know that's something that they talk about in the bio. But yeah, those are the two stories where we actually get to see that side of her a lot. Really nice.
Yeah.
Man, she got real graphic when that dude asked why he couldn't see. A simple "you're blind" would have sufficed, Lux. If I ever get shards of glass in my eyes and I ask someone why I can't see, just tell me I'm blind. I don't need to know that there are shards of glass in my eyes.
Oh yeah, they were describing the wounds of the man pretty nicely in the story.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty, the depiction of the disaster is pretty harrowing too. Like she's going through all the wreckage, and it's just like a series of earthquakes have hit this place, and she's in this triage tent with like hundreds of people and like parents, crying over dead children, and then like orphans who are just like staring around with no one there because their family has been killed. It's like it's harrowing.
Where the fuck's Jarvan? What are you doing, man?
Just trying to get that dragon pussy. Come on now.
Come on.
Sorry. He's helping.
This whole thing was caused because Rammus took a wrong turn
I was
somewhere in
curious.
Shreem.
What do you
Rammus
think?
would never.
Who do you think caused this earthquake?
LeBlanc. She does it all.
It's LeBlanc for sure.
It's Malphite, and that's why she fights him so many fucking times in all of her cinematics.
That's true. She does have a bone to pick with Malphite.
Right.
Or a rock to pick.
Hey.
Yeah. The only little other thing is it's nice to see Demacians doing good. It's nice to see them like, oh, they're just helping each other, and like here's a guy who was just being a genuine hero, right? And not through like these like bombastic dauntless vanguard things, but it's like, no, he just went in to go help people after a disaster to his own, detriment, right? It's like, I'd like to see a little bit more of that when it comes to Demacia, of like, hey, here's the good parts of the things that they do. We see so much of the shitty parts,
Like this is what attracted, Xin Zhao to Demacia.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
I like it.
Well, all I can think about is if there's like two earthquakes so close to each other, is there earthquakes like somewhere else in Demacia?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Are they all on
They
a
don't
fault
really talk
line?
about natural disasters very often.
Right, where are the fault lines in Runeterra?
A tsunami? What-
Come on, Riot. Give us the actual lore we need.
Is Demacia like the Los Angeles of...
He's just going to break off and be part of the sea soon.
I wouldn't hate that because it's almost thematically appropriate. They've got all this building tension, right? And then something happens and Demacia is broken apart, right? Like, sure, fuck it, why not, right? I kind of like it, honestly.
Okay, like whole Demacia is just destructed by an earthquake, and then they're like, okay, maybe we accept this magic after all. Can we fix this?
And
It wasn't
Talia
mages
can
that
come
were your
in
big problem. It was Mother Nature the whole time.
'Twas Earth all along.
Sure. Maybe even like all of the shit they're doing with mages and stuff is like fucking with like the spirit realm balance and like nature's getting out of whack and stuff. Kind of an Ionian
make
thing
sense.
going on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it.
Maybe
We
we'll
come
see
up
it in the
with such
MMO.
good ideas. Right.
One day, for my 40th birthday, I'll get that MMO.
All right.
Now, Lux does show up in a few other stories. We won't go into too much detail, but she shows up in the Might of Demacia, which is Garen's bio, where Garen is beginning to suspect that Lux might have magical power.
He's a sharp one, that Garen.
And she shows up in The Soldier and the Hag, where we learn that knowing the truth about Lux is a constant weight on Garen's mind, but one that he feels he must carry. And then she also shows up in The Unshackled, which is Silas's bio, which I just finished reading Batman Nightwalker, the novel by like Marie Lu. Holy shit, it is the same story as the fucking like Lux comic and the Unshackled bio. If you haven't read it, man, oh man, it was the same story beats.
When we
But
get to
with
Silas,
Batman.
maybe I'll read it. Maybe we'll do a side by side or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's it was it. Bruce gets put into like a, has to do some community service, ends up going to a jail. There's a prisoner there that's around his age. He ends up talking to her. He likes her a whole lot. He inadvertently helps her escape. There's a big showdown at the end where she takes prisoners and he has to try and stop her. And
Interesting.
man, yeah, it's weird
Interesting.
timing to be reading that book. She also kind of shows up in the first Shield novella, but not a lot.
Yeah, I think it's just
Yeah,
Garen
she really wasn't
ruminating,
in
right?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Have you guys read
illuminating.
it? Have you guys read the first yet?
Yeah, we read that for Garen's
we did
episode.
for Garen.
Oh yeah, okay. I think it has a lot of reading.
There is a lot.
It's a novella, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a couple hundred pages, I think.
It's pretty
I
good.
still
It's pretty
haven't
good.
read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
would say
mostly
it's not-
Cythria. It's a
Yeah,
Cythria novel.
it's- Garen's not the
necessarily
best.
a Garen novel.
Gary's not the best part of it at all.
He's there.
Yeah, he's there.
What about when he stomp kicks a guy like over a table or something?
That's
punches
pretty
a guy's
fucking cool.
helmet in. Yeah.
Yeah. Quinn's in it. I liked Quinn in it.
Yeah, Quinn's real good.
LeBlanc's in
honestly.
it.
Kind of. Yeah. Well, maybe.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
It's
I-
LeBlanc.
Headcanon.
I mean, it has to be.
But yeah, so that's it for canon.
Well, we didn't for the short stories. Yeah. Then there's the comic.
Yeah, right.
The comic we did talk about a lot with Garen.
We did.
John basically just summarized it, talking about that Batman book.
Honestly, yeah, really. Like it's a series of comics, right? It's 5 issues. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, the high level is like you described. Or Lux is she's still grappling with being a mage. She kind of discovers Silas and all of the stuff that the Mage Seekers are doing, and she kind of spends time with him, and she thinks that there's a budding, I guess, like kind of a budding relationship type thing. She's like, he's like someone who she can confide in, right? And for him, she's like she's a means to an end, right? Like he sees someone who he can kind of take advantage of, maybe even a little bit of a kinship. It's a little fuzzy or mixed, I guess.
Yeah.
But it kind of culminates in, she's sneaking him secrets and magical things and
Books that are not for children.
Books that are not for children.
It's my favorite line still.
And she gets found out, so they go to execute him, and he uses Lux's magic to escape and kind of starts the Mage Rebellion. And there's a big to-do because Jarvan III gets killed, and Lux and then that's kind of where the things end up being like, oh, Demacia is taking a much more hardline stance with J4 at the helm, and Lux kind of at this point has to be kind of, she's out, right, with Garen, and Garen accepts her, and she leads a bunch of mages at the end kind of out of Demacia. And I don't know exactly what she's doing. I assume she's going to try and work to help mages, get away from Demacia, but also like recognizes that Silas and the whole rebellion also is not the right answer for them. Like it's just as big of a problem for mages almost as Demacia is,
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not explicitly said at any point, but it kind of seems like at this point in the canon story, like Lux is out of Demacia.
Yeah.
Like she's finding her own shit to do. Because Garen also makes it very clear, like, hey, the Mage Seeker's going to have a lot of questions for you about that fucking Silas escape. You better have some good answers.
Yeah.
And we know she doesn't have good answers, so.
No, something about shadows.
She's out.
Something like that. I still don't know how they work, but right. And that would explain why in like Warriors they're up somewhere near the Freljord. Like they're certainly not in Demacia proper. They're in probably some outlying Demacian holding or something maybe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So a few things I liked about this. So when she's first trying to get into the like the area that she doesn't think she's allowed into, and she's like, oh, I got to make up this big story about me being an Illuminator. And she's like, see, as a senior cadet in the Illuminators, it's part of my duty to educate our members on. And then the guard's just like, yeah, you're a crown guard, just go in.
Yeah.
It gave me like huge Arcane vibes when Kate was like, yes, Matilda. My parents named me Matilda after my great-grandmother, Matilda the pirate.
Yeah. It's funny. It's a neat way of kind of showing how her, because like at the end too, she's like, oh, I gotta intervene and help these mages, and she again leverages, like at that point knows, I'll use my crown guard thing. It's like, I'm crown guard, I'm here to help, I'll take care of this. Take off for the rest of the day or whatever. So it's a nice, like, it's almost like bookended from at the start. She's like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. Like Garen's like uses it to get past some checkpoint or something. He's like, yeah, you're a crown guard, you just flash the badge, man. So it's kind of a neat, like, like I said, book ending for her almost on those.
That scene where Tiana is like, oh yeah, we gotta marry marry Lux off to Jarvan so that no one can do shit when they find out she's a mage. I just noticed how fucking fierce her armored high heels are. They are massive.
Gotta check it
I
out.
know we thought it was pretty funny when we saw Leona's armored high heels in the call cinematic. These were at least 3 times the height of Leona's high heels. They are massive.
She's got like armored stilettos.
She
not
really
just-
does.
I gotta check
It's
it out.
crazy.
See, my problem is I get distracted by her massive, heaving pauldrons. She is like, those things are huge. Like, I know they're crown guards, and even it's funny.
Yeah,
Silas
the crown
even
guards
like,
have to have the huge
Oh, yeah.
shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But even still, they're like, I think it's especially because she's got such a more slender frame, so it just looks like, I don't know, they're like wings almost. How big those things are, man.
I gotta say, when you said heaving, I didn't know where you were going with
No,
that.
that's-
When you
yeah.
said her massive heaving, and I was like, her massive heaving what, Mark?
Go on.
Well, you know, I like to just. Oh, I'm looking at them now. Holy shit! Yeah, you're right about those heels.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
John's
just pulled
bringing
it up.
for me. Oh, damn.
Yeah, I can't
She's
figure.
working out her legs all day.
This was
you know?
issue
You what?
1, page 7, in case you at home want to check out these stilettos.
I can't figure Tiana out. I'll be honest with you. I still can't
I never
tell,
can.
like-
She's their aunt, right?
yeah, she's their aunt. Her husband is the head of the Mage
Tianta.
Seekers, and I can't tell if she's in bed with him, you know, beyond the literal, or if
Yeah.
she's opposed to him. And I can't, because it seems like there's tension between her and her husband sometimes, but she's also very like subterfugey, you know, and like she's scheming and things, and I just can't tell if
Yeah.
I can't
We've
figure her
pitched
out.
if maybe she had a hand in Jarvan the Third's death, because
Maybe.
it's made pretty clear that Silas actually did not kill him.
Yeah.
Someone else has in the chaos, which is really interesting. You bringing up the questionable cover. Yeah, issue 2's got a real,
Sexy.
yeah, it's a real questionable cover.
Now, I wrote down a potential name for the romance novel with this cover.
Oh, hell yeah, bring it on.
Okay.
Light Bondage.
Ooh, that's really good, dude.
Great. That's a
You
good
gotta
one.
write erotic novellas for Amazon.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kide, what did you think of these comics? I assume you read through them.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the death of like Jarvan 3 as well a lot, and I was actually thinking about it that it might have been Tiana.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and his husband, the Eldred Krangard, because I think that Silas said in the prison to Lux something along the lines that Crown Guards got me here in the first place. So maybe like it was Tiana and Eldred who got Silas in the first place in the prison. They hate magic, but the king doesn't, maybe that much. And Tiana and Eldred might want to like keep their position and push their like own image how the Demacia should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And I think she would know that J4 would be easier to kind of mold and control a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
especially if he thinks that mages killed his father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if imagine he does get married to Lux, and then that's, and ostensibly she's saying like, oh, we'll do it so we'll protect Lux, but maybe that's like a little ace up your sleeve if J4 ever gets out of hand. It's like, hey, I know that your wife is a mage, and here we are in post Mage Rebellion Demacia, and now we like leverage, right?
Yeah, I
don't
like
know.
that. She would blackmail him.
It's an interesting idea, but like I said, I don't know about her, and I'd have to go look at other instances of her, because I think it could easily be that she's not, and we're just we're being dicks to someone who's actually good, and maybe she schemes, but she schemes to help. You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
I back up
but-
Tiana.
Okay. I just think that the person who killed J4 or J3 has to be someone that we know of, have heard of, has been around. You know, it can't just be some rando. So.
Oh, I do
Yeah.
definitely think it's still her husband.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's-
I just think he was operating independently
Okay.
from her.
Or maybe
That's
it's
possible.
LeBlanc as her. That
Oh, it's LeBlanc.
LeBlanc's like the
LeBlanc
big
did
wild
it.
card of all this, because anyone could actually be LeBlanc, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, we did pitch that maybe in LeBlanc's episode that maybe LeBlanc had a hand in killing Jarvan the Third. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have one more thing about this.
Go for
thing.
it.
Okay, I was like shuffling through like the pages on the comic, and I saw that before the king was dead, Tiana still had her sword with her. But after the king died, and the next time we see Tiana, she doesn't have her sword anymore. But in the picture where the king is dead, there is a sword next to her. I mean, next to him.
Interesting. Does it look like the same sword?
Is it her sword?
It would be pretty dumb of her to leave her sword right near his dead body, right?
But it
I
would
mean,
be pretty
well-
smart of someone else to frame her by leaving her sword somewhere.
Well, no one picked up on it, so they didn't do a good enough job. Except for our little investigator over here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, it's like,
I mean, yeah, it could be just my like headcanon, of course.
I mean, if that was a detail that they wanted people to pick up on, that would be a good one for sure, right? A little visual
Yeah.
thing that
Yeah,
no one.
I mean, the sword is like right next to the king. I mean, it doesn't have any blood on it, so it might be the king's sword as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's a neat idea though. It's a fun thing to play around with. What did we think of like I know we've been on stuff and this is like a lot of stuff to get through, but like what did we think of like Lux's depiction in this? I mean, her name's on the thing. I feel like, you know, it's
It is
like-
mainly about Lux. Yeah, we got off track. I like this comic a lot. I feel like we talked about it with Garen. But I like Lux here. I like how that she got drawn to Silas for her variety of reasons. And she likely would not have if even just her mother had embraced her magic. I don't think she would have been seduced by Silas in any way. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I like her being drawn to someone like that. And Silas really fascinates me. I can't wait until we can talk about Silas more. Because I'm like, I'm not against Silas, honestly. I kind of get it. Like, I get it, bud, because he's been through a lot. They were using him as a child and everything, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely I like how when she's talking to him and learning more about it, like she's definitely confronted with a lot of things he says that are different than what she's been taught, but she doesn't seem like, oh, well, you're lying. Like she's like, oh, that's different than what I taught, and he's like, yeah, obviously, because you're taught propaganda.
I almost
But she
feel,
seems much more open to that.
I almost feel like she kind of maybe I'm wrong, and I'd be curious to see if like there's a panel that is to the contrary. But I almost feel like because you know she's got this sort of affinity, like you know she finds a friend, I guess, you know, whatever in Silas. You know, she kind of takes what he says almost at like face value, like kind of doing like going from this the pendulum sort of swinging from like, oh, everything that Demacia says is correct to like, oh, everything that Silas is saying must be accurate, right? And I'd be curious to see where the truth lies, because he's not reliable, right? Like he might be
Yeah.
bullshitting about certain things, or he might like we don't know when he's being 100% honest, or even what he is saying might just be colored by his experiences. So I'd be curious if like I say, the truth is kind of somewhere in between, and Lux, because she's like in this stuck, isolated position, is much more willing to, you know, believe those things kind of at face value, right? And especially after you've been kind of shown that, hey, some of those things that you thought were true are indeed false, right? It seems like that's an easy way to get someone to really start like, you know, going whole hog in the other direction almost. But it
Yeah, I
feels-
like the
you know,
idea that she's a little too trustworthy and just instantly believes him. And I wonder, I am curious where Lux is now, and like mentally, not just physically. Would she still be this trustworthy? I don't think I
don't
could
think
see
so.
Lux ever getting too jaded. That's not really like her character. But I don't know. Like, she didn't immediately go, well, I need to get revenge on Silas. She was like, well, I need to help these mages now
yeah.
to protect them from Demacia and from Silas.
Exactly. I think like you had said earlier, John, like this, in addition to that other story, is like really showcases some of that, like that positivity, like help others that we kind of want from Lux. Because you're right. Like she could have gone J3, you know, very like, you know, fuck Silas, man. But she doesn't. She thinks about others and kind of tries to hold, like, they're the most important thing is helping these people that, you know, she can help, right? And it's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like it's very hard for Lux to find like real friends, because she has a huge secret for real, and I don't know, maybe it's like a little bit hard for Lux to trust anyone because she's like telling lies to everyone else, and you probably can't make like a trustworthy like friendship with someone who you can't like tell your secrets and
Yeah, absolutely.
like you're a huge mage, like
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Main friends at that point were a mass murderer and a statue.
Yeah.
Which I loved the Galio call out, by the way, when they were in jail talking about Petricite, and he's like, oh, they've made this statue about Petricite. He's like, oh, Galio, yeah, I know him.
You love him. He's great.
We're
My
friends from
pal.
work.
Right. You know, it's
and also the go on,
I was going
go
to say, it's interesting, like, the idea that because she's having to lie constantly, that maybe almost like a way of, like, projection, like, kind of assumes that maybe other people lack some truthfulness in the way they interact, you know? It's an interesting idea.
I was just thinking about, just out of context, the Petricite elixir was something truly scary thing about the comics, and when they were like pouring the Petricite elixir to the one prisoner's mouth in there, like, how does it feel when your like magic goes from your body away and you're just a regular person again for some period of time?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. Yeah, I would love to see like a story get into that, because you're right. That'd be a really neat thing to explore. Because in the comic, it just seems like they show it and it seems shitty, but it'd be nice to get like the first person perspective of like what that's like, you know.
Especially given like the for Demacia, how we see that like a lot of that magic comes from nature, and it's like a connection that Lux feels to like the world around her. It must feel like just being severed from the world, which
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be.
I'm sure exactly that's what it'd be like. Yeah, that's a really neat. I agree. I'd love to see that. And you know what else? That's also a good.
and one more thing.
And one more fucking thing. You know what? That speaks to Lux being. I like the bravery almost of her being willing to like chug that potion so that she can go fight Silas with a crossbow and a dagger, and that's it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
I love it.
good on her. She got backbone, man. Let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
She got moxie, kid.
She's a crown god.
The cut of her jib. Yeah, I like the comics.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is Canon Lux.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for joining us for the conversation. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Sometimes it felt like I was listening to the podcast, so I was just here silently.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's not about you. It was just me. But it was great. It was amazing to be here with you guys. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Do you have any socials you want to call out before we call it today? Anywhere people can find you online?
No.
Or anything? No.
No.
My man.
All right.
Totally understand.
Well, join the Discord.
Yes. And the Discord it's a great place. I love your guys' Discord server. There's a lot of great people. The atmosphere is amazing. I love it.
Oh well, thank you.
Yeah, it's been nice.
Glad you're enjoying it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But thank you, and I'll keep moving on. See you later, guys.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye, man.
Okay, now we got a million years of
Cinematics and AUs.
Well,
Oh,
actually,
cinematic.
we got some
old lore.
old lore
this
too.
episode's gonna be 2.5 hours long.
Hell yeah, it will be. All right. So I'm gonna do some old lore bio because she has some fascinating stuff in her old lore.
Fascinating.
So I have some quotes here. Old bio, she was very different. Very different. She could play tricks that made people believe they had seen things that did not actually exist. She could also hide in plain sight. Somehow she was able to reverse engineer arcane magical spells after seeing them cast only once. And as one of the youngest women to be tested by the College of Magic, she was discovered to possess a unique command over the powers of light. And the young Lux viewed this as a great gift, something for her to embrace and use in the name of good. Realizing her unique skills, the Demacian military recruited and trained her in covert operations. She quickly became renowned for her daring achievements, the most dangerous of which found her deep in the chambers of the Noxian High Command, She extracted valuable inside information about the Noxus-Ionia conflict, earning her great favor with Demacians and Ionians alike. However, reconnaissance and surveillance were not for her. A light of her people, Lux's true calling was the League of Legends, where she could follow in her brother's footsteps and unleash her gifts as an inspiration for all of Demacia.
Wow, where those early powers were not reflected in her gameplay, which I don't think her gameplay's changed very much since she was released. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, it makes sense, like the idea that, like, oh, you can bend light. Like, yeah, you could probably make yourself invisible, but yeah, never reflected in gameplay.
Yeah, I feel like isn't this like this what the Spell Thief Lux skin is also trying to depict? Is her doing this? Like,
yeah.
I love that skin. It does things to me.
It's cool.
It's also interesting, like the original Lux, a bit like her ability to see a spell once and then like recreate it on site was a very Silas thing.
Yeah, you're right.
I wonder if they like took that idea a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe wasn't it the case that her Q is supposed to be like she saw Morgana's like dark binding, and then that's how she got her light binding or something like that. I
like that.
I know in the design principle, like when they were initially designing her, they used Morgana as the template, and they were like, what would this look like as light? So like all of her abilities were initially like, but what if light?
Light shield, yeah. Kind of like a weird
All of
AoE
that
thing.
said, I think Lux needs a little bit of an update because the new champs are really overloaded, and give her a stealth.
Her shield should stealth,
right?
Yeah, give her a little bit of a stealth. Why not?
Why not?
Everyone
right?
else gets a fucking stealth. Does Akshan need a stealth Riot? Because I don't think he does.
He can recreate a spell after he sees it once, and he can bend light. Yeah.
Now, there's also a short story that's old canon, which was the Ezreal short story where he's going around the world trying to find information about Aatrox. And it's told by like a bunch of drawings and pottery and old artifacts with Aatrox in it. And the very last page here is a sketch of himself and Lux. Oopsies. How'd that get in there?
How'd they meet under these circumstances, I wonder? Were they just in the League of Legends together?
Sure.
Is that how he knows her?
Maybe.
On the fields of
Although
justice.
Yeah. She does have a quote specifically about that that's pretty funny.
Oh.
But then she also has, I assume, did you read the Judgment and the JOJ articles? Did you want to take us through the Judgment?
Sure. The Judgment's kind of interesting because she shows up and she's very self-assured. She's like, ho, I know they just use illusions, and her being this light bending sort of illusion master is like, this is all I've got this, no problem. And I think it's like an illusion of Garen shows up, and he's asking her why do you want to join the League? And she gives a very like the right response, the proper Demacian response, etc. Does it like a couple times, and then they kind of throw her back into like the memory of like being. I think it's like the memory of her being dragged. Is it her being dragged off to like be a member of the military? Is that what it's depicting, right?
Yeah. So like apparently when they were kids, they part of being a crown guard, like they all served in the military, but like her parents just gave her and Garen away when they were children to the military. And I think Garen may have been on board with it, but like she was very not on board with it.
Yeah.
Mommy, I don't want to kill people in the war.
Then she like relives her brainwashing and was like, because now she is very on board with it, but like she had to like relive the brainwashing, like, oh shit, no, this was horrific. I remember now.
Yeah, she's like, she realizes that all this kind of like all this love I feel for Demacia is like, this isn't like true. This is something I've been kind of convinced to believe, or I've kind of come to believe. It's kind of interesting. And then at the end of it, everything fades, and it's actually Garen there. He's not an illusion. It's the actual Garen doing this, and she's kind of collapsing in a bit of an emotional wreck, and he does not help at all. He's like, well, when you're in the League, summoners look right into your brain, so you gotta get your shit together. And then he leaves. He doesn't offer to help in any way. I think that's mostly it, unless I missed anything. I know I'm high level.
Yeah, so one thing they immediately mentioned when she saw Garen was like, Garen, the Might of Demacia, her long-lost brother, stood before her. I was like, oh, she's long-lost in this lore. I didn't know that.
I assume that was like, because he's been off he's been off in the League of Legends, right? The thing is they don't hang out anymore.
Ever since you joined the League of Legends, I never see
We never see you for holidays.
You want to build a snowman?
The other thing you mentioned, she was giving like the right answers. It does specifically call out that those right answers came from the measured tread, which I feel like is a reference that we hadn't heard since maybe Fiora.
Fiora, yeah. Actually, when that showed up, I was like, wait, was that like... Because that's still in that Fiora story, I think. I was like, is that still a thing that exists? I guess it is, but I didn't realize it was so old.
Right?
Yeah. It's the handbook for how to be a good Demacian, essentially. Yeah. That's mostly for the judgment.
Yeah, and then she only shows up in 2 Journal of Justice articles, though I do specifically want to call out how fucking annoying it was to try and find articles that she was a part of by searching Lux, because every other article in the Journal of Justice has the word influx in it. And it really fucked up my search.
Luxury shows up a lot of times.
Yeah, Luxury was a big asshole, too. I wouldn't have expected.
They say influx like 3 times in a single, edition.
Oh, man.
They just learned that word. They were really excited.
It had that feeling.
But so the issue she shows up in are 5, which is in a whole article about how cool Lux is.
Right.
Which it basically reads like an article from like when you're from a small town and then someone in that town does something cool, so they get like a whole like article spread about them.
Yeah.
Like that's what this was. It's like, yeah, she's in the military now and she's a cool summoner.
It's by because remember there's like a Noxian contributor and a Demacian writer, and this one's by their Demacian correspondent.
What?
He also talks a little shit. He's like, "Oh, she's so good. She stole these Noxian, spell plans or whatever, Or like even Lux was able to. I don't remember exactly the exact wording, but he just kind of throws a jab in at Noxus there, which is kind of fun.
Was there a Parks and Rec episode where Leslie mentions that they somebody from their town went to the Olympics and they wouldn't stop publishing about it for like a full year, but he wasn't in the Olympics. He just went to the Olympics to watch them.
Yeah.
It's just such a small town with nothing going on.
It's very much like that.
Yeah.
I'm from a small town, so I get it.
Yeah.
And then she shows up in issue 15, which is the one where Heimerdinger accidentally blows a huge hole in the roadway outside Demacia. Lux comes to assess the damage and issues a statement. We've had our differences on the League battlefield at times, but Heimerdinger is always welcome in our city. If he wants to continue his experiments, however, we ask that he clear it with Demacian officials first.
I'm a crown guard.
Yeah, I feel like
so that's old Lux.
I feel like there was one other article where she does almost the exact same thing. She just shows up with a group to investigate after some bullshit and gives a statement.
She's like a cop. She just comes in after the
Kind
fact and then says something.
It's like an assessor. Like, oh yeah, we got. It's like a plumber.
She's an
comes
insurance assessor. To see who gets the payout.
Yeah.
All right. Now she is part of a bunch of cinematics. Warriors was the first one we talked about before, where Silas is attacking a Demacian outpost in the Freljord, probably. Lux is almost attacked and trips and falls over. Her martial prowess being evident here. Garen protects her.
She hadn't seen Silas since the escape. She was...
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Garen protects her, but when it looks like Silas is going to get the best of him, she summons a wand to herself, whiffs an ult straight into the sky, and summons Galio. But luckily, her ult is on a 10-second cooldown because she immediately gives it another go when Galio gets there.
First of all, you can get it on like a 23-second cooldown.
Fully stacked mage
at the end of the game. She didn't whiff the ult.
Yeah. This is high ground, man.
Yeah, high ground.
I feel like this does run a little contrary, because at the end of the comic, she gets her wand, right? And here it seems like she didn't have it, but there's been a bit of time. Maybe she lost it, and this is a new one. Who knows?
This kind of makes it seem like she's just decided to use her magic for like the first time, like for a fight. You know what I mean? Like she'd never used it offensively almost before.
Maybe.
But I mean, the cinematics, this happens a lot. They'll kind of tweak some things to make it more thematic for what they're doing. So
yeah.
And if you want to get away with using magic in front of Demacians and have them not fuck with you, use your magic to call your good friend Galio down. They ain't gonna fuck with you.
I've got a big friend that you can talk to. Yeah. I'd like to
with big needs.
Shut the fuck up.
That's gonna be another novella. That's the Galio one. Big friend with big needs.
You hide in his crevices. Oh man.
Gross.
Now, she's also part of the Lux Binding Light cinematic, which was part of the League Animation Workshop videos, along with the Darius, Misfortune, and Zed character pieces. This basically shows Lux practicing controlling her light before going out into the world and being a boss.
Yeah.
And it's very, like, sketchy. Like, sketched out.
Like, the style.
They're like sketches.
A sketch.
Yeah. I think this is good for what it is. I think this is all drawn by just one guy, a guy called Glenn Keane, I want to say, who's a Disney animator. He's worked on...
Oh.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That's why she looks like a Disney princess in this, is because I think
It's the big eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't really look like Lux in it, but it is still pretty cool, like, because I'm fairly certain it's just him who just hand drew every single one of these frames, you know, and it's like, it's pretty cool for like a little animation thing.
Yeah, I know those were all just to like give you a bit more about character personality for all of them, so it was nice.
Yeah. Plus, Base
she also
the song in it is by an artist, or I think it's an artist named Base Nectar.
Oh.
I don't know.
God, that name sounds familiar. Did they do one of the Sona remixes?
Like maybe. I wouldn't be surprised.
Now she also shows up in The Unshackled, which was the Silas reveal. After Silas gives his big monologue, we see Lux at the door of his prison at the very end, and we all know where that leads.
Some light bondage.
Some light bondage. She's also in the Dominion trailer. In this trailer, Lux completely ignores her teammate Aurelia, getting mauled by Cassiopeia so she can cap a point.
Hell yeah.
But then luckily joins the final fight in time for a huge multi-man ult to save Jarvan.
In an awesome
That's how you win at Dominion.
Right?
You need the points.
You gotta get the points, man. Hey, Aurelia just ulted some minions. Fuck her, man.
Yeah, Aurelia just is really running it down.
Her
right.
ult. Classic Aurelia.
She's in the Tellstone cinematic, King's Gambit, where we see Lux beating Garen at Tellstones,
Thrilling
unsurprisingly. She's in the You Really Got Me cinematic, where is the Wild Rift cinematic, where Lux is studying and bored and dreaming of fighting a big rock monster men. And then Jinx kidnaps her and drags her to battle, where she spots her dream enemy, Malphite. And after dodging several Malphite cues somehow...
That's not a skill shot.
she lands a sweet binding ult combo to...
Which would do absolutely nothing to a Malphite.
I didn't mention it, but she also ulted the Malphite in the Dominion cinematic too, so
yeah.
She
fights a ton of rock monsters, man. I will say this is like the most Lux. Like, sure, her expressions and the way she's acting and stuff, like, I get the most feeling of like Lux from anything on this one. I really like it.
Definitely. Yeah. And she's got that nod to her original splash art in this. When she gets drawn in, when she gets pulled into the Wild Rift and we see her, she's like walking on the top of that wall. It's the same from the original splash.
Holy shit, you're right. Oh my god.
I gotta watch that again.
That's awesome.
We were passing pictures around of her old splash art, by the way. It's
great.
Pretty special. She looks like a cheerleader.
She's not even blonde. Her the main thing they mention in all of her stories too, like her hair as gold, not even blonde in her original splash.
No.
Yeah, that old splash, that old art is something else. That's a neat little find, though.
Yeah.
We're going to post that on Twitter, by the way, that old... And John has like an old... Was it a little sprite? Or like an old... Not a sprite, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't like the original splash. You just showed us like a model of Lux.
Oh, yeah.
Am I fucking high?
No, I know you're talking about. Yeah, like the in-game model.
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, the in-game model. I don't know words right now, okay?
Now, she also shows up in the cinematic Duo, which is one of those ones that kind of focuses on content creators. And this one focuses on Lily, Pichu, and Slightly Musical, duoing against an evil Swain as Lux and Ezreal.
Mark, I didn't see the other picture you sent us.
The concept art.
She's got like this weird thing around her belly button. So Mark said, "For me, it's the uterus frame."
I mean, you know what? I will let the audience be the judge. They can look at it and tell me what they would call that.
Yeah, that was the thing with a lot of her original Splash 2 is like weird skirt things in all of them. They're not really skirts. It's kind of like bound together
Flaps.
Pieces of fabric. But yeah.
She's like strawberry blonde in this one a little bit, almost. God, this outfit is something. There's a lot of class. She like went to a thrift store and picked out a few different pieces that didn't match. That's what it looks like.
She went to Michael's and got some fabrics.
I mean, she knows that she's going to be making herself invisible, so it doesn't really matter.
That's fair.
She's also part of Just One More, which was inspired by the true story of the 5 North American League of Legends players with the longest losing streak in one sitting, and one of them plays Lux every game.
That's why they're fucking losing, trust me.
And finally, we have Road to the Cup, which was a studio mirror animation for the Worlds 2013, with players doing the moves of their favorite champions while racing to the top of a mountain to the Champions Cup. And this one features Ferelyn Lord from the Copenhagen Wolves using his Lux ult like a rocket in Quake to propel himself up the mountain.
It's fucking Iron Man.
Quake. What a great reference. But yeah. Yeah.
I not played that.
That was
like
I
Team
think,
Fortress.
the first game to feature the whole just shooting a rocket at your feet to blow yourself up.
That's right. We were talking about that the other day.
Before it became a feature in most
In Fortnite.
in most like FPSs now.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I'm almost debating if I should go to the bathroom before you start the AUs, or maybe while you're doing the
Well,
AUs.
we have some quotes actually. Quotes
Okay.
first. We got some.
I've been drinking coffee and water this whole time.
Oh, man.
So we've got the classic Cat and Garen sitting in a tree, and you better just be holding hands, or I'm telling.
How about a fucking narc Lux? A cock block.
And she's got a quote to Ezreal that says, "Are we supposed to be dating or something? We've never even talked." She's got a fucking brutal quote to Lucian.
Oh.
"I'm sure your wife forgives you for getting her soul taken by a remorseless creature of darkness."
I know.
The thing is, when you say it like that, it sounds brutal. But
It's
she
to
probably...
enemy Lucians.
Oh.
I'm sure she
Because I just feel like she
genuinely-
meant it. Yeah,
Yeah.
she like sincerely meant that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure she
Just-
forgives you.
just doesn't realize how it comes across, you know?
She's got a quote to Leona. "You brought the sun to a light fight? That was probably a good choice, actually." And then she's got a good quote that I just liked. "We're all so concerned about what Demacia is. We forget to ask what it can be."
Oh.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Makes you think.
Nothing about shadows, Lux. See, that's how you get deep quotes. Is if you...
And she's got a couple reference quotes here. The double rainbow. What does it mean? Classic reference.
That's so
Yosemite
old now.
Bear 62's YouTube video.
That was like one of the OG memes, I feel like.
Fucking ancient memers over here.
She does go on to explain light refraction and what it actually means. I don't have that whole quote there, though. It's all sciencey and shit. And then we've got a few from Elementalist Lux. "The horror! The horror!" References Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Fire Lux and Brand share the quote, "Is it hot in here or is it just me?"
I like the way she says it, though.
Ice Lux has a quote, "Why does everyone always assume I have Turkish delight?"
Oh, wow.
A Chronicles of Narnia reference.
She also makes a lot of puns, like fucking Mr. Freeze and Batman and Robin.
Oh, really?
Does.
It's so good. I really like that
Actually,
one,
I didn't mention this was one of the quotes I initially pulled, but if you ban Lux, she says, "But all my light puns would have brightened your day."
Yeah. That's pretty good.
And then last quote is another Ice Lux one. "Ice pierces the most temperamental of hearts," which might be a Snow Queen reference by Hans Christian Andersen.
Sure. I'll take your word for it. I'm not familiar with
Good.
it. I did have a few from Runeterra that I liked. One is
go
not
for it.
hers, but it's Galio. Because when we did Galio, he wasn't in Runeterra, but he is now. And when an enemy Lux shows up on the map, he'll say, not you, anyone but you. It's kind of sad.
Aww.
And then when the turn timer comes up, she'll start humming This Little Light of Mine, which I thought was pretty neat.
Cute.
Yeah, just those two.
Yeah, so that's another thing for comics, by the way, not necessarily canon comics, but I figured I should just call it out before I forget. She does show up in Harmonies. Seraphine has that Star Guardian poster on her wall.
Yeah.
Oh, John.
I always forget.
With that being said, AU time. You can go to the bathroom if you want.
Yeah.
All right. AU time, baby. Now, she is part of the medieval AU. Set in the Middle Ages, each champion is a person from the medieval period. This one is Sorceress Lux, an aspiring mage from the Demacian Dukedom. Lux has traveled across the land in her quest to lighten the lives of the peasantry with magic. Though her efforts are often met with suspicion at first, tales of her miracles are beginning to reach the ruling class of the dukedom itself. This is an AU where Lux can do magic.
Oh, in Demacia, people are kind of suspicious of it, but it's like,
Yeah.
what is this fucking AU? Sorry, I don't think I've ever heard of this one before.
Right. There's not a lot that are part of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are other things that are a part of it for sure. I think
Right.
Medieval Twitch probably is in this one too.
yeah.
No, that would make sense. Yeah.
Now, this is not to be confused with the next one, Arcanists, which is set in a fantasy setting where each champion is a wizard or witch.
Okay.
And this is Spell Thief Lux. She doesn't pull in coin like the Spell Thief's Edge, and can't actually steal spells like Silas, but technically, Lux is learning and reproducing illegal magic. Sadly, illegal spell learner Lux doesn't have quite the same ring to it.
That's funny.
So this is an AU where Lux learns magic.
Okay. Secretly.
I just want Riot to know this is one of, I think, the sexiest skins they've ever made, and she's fully covered. Like, you don't need to make people, partially clothed. I have a sticker of this on my Hydro Flask. That's how much I love this skin.
That's true. And this one was very, I don't know if you played any Dota, but I feel like this one was very kind of like Jaina Proudmoore. You might dig her.
I can see it, yeah.
John knows my taste in ladies.
Now, we've got Commando, which is set in an alternate future universe.
Where they're all naked.
There's Commando Lux. Soundproof ear protectors, a multi-spectral heat visor, lace-up knee-high boots, and a double-sided flamethrower that shoots lasers instead of fire. Yeah, Lux really does have it all.
She's also got heels.
Obviously, you gotta have armored heels.
Can you call it a flamethrower if it doesn't produce flame? Won't it be like a laser thrower? A
Laser thrower.
I don't know. Whatever.
You can do whatever you want
Right.
when you're in the Commando line. Taking less damage from Leona ults.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
She's part of Steel Legion, set in a dystopian future of Demacia. It features champions equipped with Tesla-like weaponry. This is Steel Legion Lux. This highly trained specialist in the Steel Legion uses light magnifying crystal rods to discharge rays of concentrated energy, designated Lux. Her affinity with the weapons has been quietly observed by several leading scientists within the organization. So I guess her code name in this AU is Lux, which is pretty creative.
Right? it took me an actual second when you said that. It's like designated? Like it's like code name? Okay. Cool.
Now we've got Battle Academia, set in a world where champions go to school that cultivate the next generation of superheroes. This is separated into 5 schools named after the god weapons, which are titanic sentient weapons that dot the landscape. Now, Lux in this AU is Garen's adopted sister, and it's implied that they do not have a good relationship.
Oh.
Although it is also likely she's dating Ezreal in this AU.
Okay.
This one is Battle Academia Lux, a first year at the Durandal God Weapon Academy. Lux maintains an upbeat attitude no matter the odds. Despite her freshman position in the Sorcery Club, Lux wields a tremendous amount of magical power that even the Academy's senior staff can't quite explain. And she also has a Runeterra card, so we've got a Battle Academia Lux level 2, which is like a conversation that looks like between her and Ezreal. But, we're not supposed to use our power between classes. You're right, but we can't just let them carry on. Guess I'm about to get into a heap of trouble. Not listening, huh? Well, then this is for your own good. Lucent Singularity! Oh, you name your moves too? Have you met Ezreal? You might like him. Nobody at Durandal Academy had quite seen anything like it. Such power. Without a weapon to channel it? The professors forbade discussions, but of course, rumors spread. And now she also has a prestige skin for this one, the Prestige Battle Academia Lux. Now in her second year at Durandal Academy, Lux has been hardened by the harrowing trials, losses, and betrayals that punctuated her freshman experience. Following the climactic clash with a certain rogue god weapon, Lux has mastered her powers and risen to take her place as head of the Sorcery Club, as well as the new class president.
Cool.
And this one also has a cinematic called Fight for Yours, which is the training montage with Jace, Katarina, Ezreal, and Lux. And in this cinematic, Lux seems super OP. Blows up all the fucking training dummies. Almost kills Graves, but he's got a Yumi shield on him, so he good. Now we got Space Groove. In a groovy galaxy a million disco infernos away, a mysterious energy known only as the Groove brings music and prosperity to trillions of galactic citizens. But when the alien overlord Lysandra and her army of harsh vibes begin to enslave planets and suppress disco music, a new age of heroes rises to stop her and keep the party groovin'. This is one that aesthetically is likely inspired by Space Channel 5. And this one is Space Groove Lux.
Sorry. I got caught on my foot.
A normal girl from the normal world. Lux picked up a groove-enhancing staff to defend her planet from the harsh vibes, inadvertently discovering she could channel mighty blasts of concentrated disco music. Sailing into space with her mercenary bodyguard Samira, Lux now stands as the bubbly bastion of good against an evil alien armada and their terrible taste in music. Also, Gwen is her quartermaster in this AU, and her boogie's name is Barney.
Dope.
And this has the cinematic Exploration, which is an amazing retro anime style music video, which you should watch.
Yep, still recommend it.
I still haven't seen it.
Still recommend it. I know we talked about it with Lulu. Still good.
Yeah.
Now I've got Porcelain. In a world where ancient spirits and magical creatures thrive in the periphery of modern society, powerful porcelain artifacts called the Zodiac Relics are key to unlocking immense power. They are kept safe by the Protectors, immortal guardians tasked with keeping the relics out of the wrong hands. This one's Porcelain Lux. As the current leader of the Protectors and wielder of the Rabbit Relic, Lux is determined to keep up her sunny disposition in spite of everything. Her own arduous sorcery training, the newbie archaeologist who stumbled into their ranks, and the sudden threat of awakened evil now out for vengeance. She's got this. Right? Right. And this also has a prestige skin. A leader bends, but never breaks. In the Protector's pursuit of an ancient evil, Lux has navigated her team over obstacles that even the archaeologist, in all his unbridled confidence, thought insurmountable. Lux's power, once a dim light in a darkened world, now shines brightly, and her ragtag group of fragile personalities, the Protectors, with her support, deserving of their title. And this one has a cinematic called A Hero Awakens, where after Ezreal accidentally awakens the ancient evil Lysandra, Lux has to bail him out, and together they both manage to completely whiff their ults point blank, and Lysandra gets away.
High ground.
It's us in bot lane, eh?
Hey.
Y'all ever run Ezreal Lux? I feel like y'all.
No, John doesn't play much Ezreal. Not in SR. Just try it. Be fun.
We did once. Didn't go great.
We did? I don't remember.
Yeah.
No, don't ever. Nope. Didn't go great. Don't ever.
Yeah,
do it
once
again.
enough. That's all you get.
That's
So they nerf AP
as good a
Kaisa.
sample size as I need.
Yep.
Now, she's also part of Lunar Rebel, which is Lunar Empress Lux. Groomed from a young age to guard the immortal realm from darkness, the Lunar Empress and her companions are said to stand watch over the world. Lux, though a powerful demigod in her own right, draws aid from the ever-faithful Warwick and Nasus. And this one has the cinematic Unite Against the Dark, where we learn more details about the story about Lux and her protectors and how they work together to banish the darkness of the lunar wraiths.
Dope.
Neat.
And Event Horizon. In the vast darkness of space are born terrible, beautiful things, cosmic creatures of sublime love, and the unknowable monstrosities of the Dark Star. These are the children of silent gods, and they are finally coming home.
This is the one you dramatize the most whenever you read the summary of the
Got a
world.
very dramatic summary.
You always get more. I think every time you read it too, you add a little bit more drama to it.
There was
By the time I'm done, it's going to be...
These are the
the soccer one was pretty dramatic, to be fair. When you did the soccer cup one pretty recently.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
true. That also needed drama.
Yeah.
Sure, because there was nothing else going on. They're all like soccer balls.
There's only one
Only
soccer
one,
ball. Now, this one has two skins. We've got Dark Cosmic Lux. Once the right hand of Queen Ash, Lux embraced the darkness in her heart, answering the mad call of the Dark Star. Finally seeing the truth, she rejects the cosmic court, instead serving her own dark ambitions to quiet the banal noise of creation. For she now knows her true fate, to reign as queen of a dark court and rightful master of the Dark Star.
Ooh.
And then you've got the other side of the coin, which is Cosmic Lux. The right hand of Queen Ash, Lux weaves celestial constellations, bringing order to a universe drifting towards entropy. When the Dark Star began corrupting members of the Cosmic Court, Lux stepped forward to confront Thresh. Yet she harbors a terrible secret, a shard of darkness that has always lived within her heart, whispering temptations.
Is this like a
This
before
is
and
sad
after?
Lux.
Yeah, so this is basic. So canon in this AU right now is Dark Cosmic Lux. So it was basically up to a player vote whether she would defeat the darkness or not. Players wanted her to lose to the darkness, so
Because they're fucking mean.
because they wanted her to unleash her true potential.
Yeah. See the truth behind the
Yeah.
lies.
So prior to her corruption, Lux was probably the strongest cosmic entity of all of them, and she's a cosmic entity who is secretly a vessel of the Dark Star and was kept close by all the other Celestials for fear of her true potential.
Okay.
And she was assigned the task of binding the Dark Star and Thresh in a fixed point, but ended up being pulled into the Dark Star by Thresh. And so this was a vote for the Galaxy's 2020 event. That's when that went down.
Yeah, I kind of remember it.
Yeah.
Lux in this AU also was the one who revived Darkstar Mordekaiser after being corrupted.
Oh, okay.
And this has a cinematic called Light's End, where we just see a planet get blown up, and we see the two possible outcomes of Lux and the wreckage. And then we see a short story, Ambition's Embrace, where due to her mastery of Starlight, she's the one that Ash sends to destroy the Dark Star, while the rest of the court hunts the other Dark Star corruptants, but she dongon goofs it, and now she's corrupted. Oopsie.
Oops, all corruption.
And finally, last but not least,
I'll lay back for this.
strap in. Star Guardian.
Which we just went over with Lulu.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
In a vast and dark universe, young warriors are chosen by fate to protect the light of the stars. They are destined to burn bright, but collapse as furiously as they shine. This one is Star Guardian Lux. Cheerful and courageous, Lux shines the brightest among her Star Guardian team. While young and inexperienced, the pink-haired captain's optimism inspires others in their destiny to protect the universe. She truly believes that as long as they fight together, there's no darkness they can't overcome. And we've also got Pajama Guardian Lux. As captain of her Star Guardian team, Lux knows the importance of a little R&R. As host of the party, though, she's still working on the relaxation part. It's hard to cut loose, especially when a certain handsome blonde guardian keeps flashing that charming grin. But Lux's boundless optimism still lights up any room.
Who do you think they're talking about?
Could be
Jana.
anyone named
Jinx.
Ezreal. Now, in the bio here, we learn that she has blood type A. Her hobbies include sleeping and eating, and her favorite food is cake.
Wow, what? I've never related to someone so much before.
Now, the short stories here. We got New Stars, which tells a little bit more about the Star Guardians. So we learned in the beginning the first star gave its light to create the universe. Then new worlds were born, and with them, warriors imbued with the light of the first star. And as a Star Guardian fades, their powers are reborn in new protectors. And Star Guardians are chosen for their strength and resolve, but above all else, they're chosen for their courage. It often signals a cataclysmic battle elsewhere in the universe when multiple Star Guardians are chosen to serve at once. And Star Guardians must familiarize themselves with the customs and rituals of a planet in order to blend in with its inhabitants, dispelling any suspicion about their true nature. And we've got Starfall, where Lux and her team of Star Guardians go on a team-building retreat. They meet Ari and her team of Guardians there, though they don't realize they're Guardians at the time. And then the camp is attacked by darkness, and the two teams fight together to defeat it. And I know I've glossed over this story a lot in the previous episodes, but at its heart, this is a Lux story. It's all about her insecurity leading her team of Star Guardians, how dysfunctional they all seem, especially compared to Ari's team, who seem like super buttoned up, and her desire to just get them all to get along with each other and work together. And it's a pretty good story, so if you're interested in the Star Guardian AU, this is a good one to read.
I will say I've been watching a lot of Sailor Moon recently, and this is giving me big like season 3 vibes, where like they have Uranus and Neptune who are really like on point, and then the rest of them are kind of fuck ups. Yeah.
Had you seen Sailor Moon before?
No, but we've been watching through it. It's like kind of good, like whatever TV, and I like season 3 a lot. I know this completely sidetracked, but like I'm really enjoying season 3 because they're having fun with it. So
I used to watch the show so much. Yeah.
I don't know why you draw a connection between
right, it's just like
the Star Guardian skin line. There's
obviously Commando is the Sailor Moon skin.
She definitely doesn't have a Sailor Moon quote in her clothes.
Let's see. We've got a Slumber Party 2, where Lux plans a mandatory Star Guardian meeting. Lulu, not realizing she meant just her own team, invites Ari's team as well. So they show up and have a slumber party. Things are tense, but they finally lighten up and become friends. And I'm just going to throw it out there. I still got a lot of gay tension here between Lux and Jinx, but kind of like one-sided specifically, like Jinx towards Lux.
Yeah.
And Lux just seems like oblivious. Also, Lux's inner monologues here are written exactly like the lead of every high school-aged young adult protagonist in the world.
Oh, really? That's fun.
Yeah.
Look at their little Poro snacks. I never noticed that. The bottom right.
There was another thing in there, in that splash, too, that was neat, although I forget what it was now. Oh, yeah, they're playing Mechs and Minions in the background.
Oh, I was
Really?
trying to figure out. Like, that game has to be something, but I don't really play a lot of board games.
That's funny.
And then we've got Twilight Star, where the Star Guardians are playing at a playground because Lulu had a vision of it and drew it in her notebook when suddenly they're attacked by Zoe. She attacks with bubbles, Jinx almost gets hit, but Lux jumps in and shields her. And they manage to fight Zoe back, but Lulu gets hit by a bubble trying to rescue Miss Fortune and has a vision that she, although they don't know who she is coming. So they decide they need to contact Ari, but that's when they find out she disappeared, right before kind of the slumber party events, which leads directly into the Light and Shadow cinematic. And then finally, the cinematic for this, Burning Bright, is a sweet music video where the team fights together against Baron Nashor.
Woo!
Hell yeah.
I've got some final fun facts to close it out.
Ooh,
Let's go.
Real quick, Elementalist Lux, doesn't she have a cinematic? Does she have any skin lore?
Oh, she does have a cinematic. She doesn't have any lore.
Okay.
She does have a cinematic.
I was hoping she would.
I forgot about that.
I don't understand what the fuck's happening in that cinematic. Like, I've seen it a few times. It's like the least Lux looking or like thing ever. And I was trying to understand like what's happening. Or I know they're just trying to sell the skin and shit, but like, it's weird.
Right. I think they were trying to like highlight the fact that like she started in the one element,
Yeah.
and then she got hit, and now she's combining some sort of elements, and now she's new fire person
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah, goes from fire. Like, it just doesn't look like Lux, and it like doesn't have any personality. And it's like, if you told me this was a new champion, I would completely believe you. You know what I mean? I was just curious. I was
Also,
hoping,
fighting another fucking rock monster.
right? Third mouth fight. Whatever. Anyway.
So Lux is voiced by Carrie Karanen. She is around 20. Well, Lux, not Carrie. Lux is around 20 years old currently.
We don't know how old Carrie is.
We don't know how old Carrie is.
Doesn't she voice LeBlanc too? Is that right?
Oh,
I don't
really?
know.
I think so. I know
could
she's
see
one
that.
other champion. I think that's who it is.
Lux's radiant staff, we mentioned, was given to her by a mage woman named Kim or Sim. Not really sure how to pronounce that. She's saved during the events of Lux issue 5. Luxana comes from the Latin word for light, lux.
Good shit.
Lux's ultimate has had 3 names, all referencing Marissa Kurasami from the 2 Who project. Finale's Funkin, Final Spark, and Infinite Light.
I think they should bring it back to Finale's Funklin or whatever the hell it's called.
I don't think I realized. Is it Infinite Light now?
No, it's Final Spark
Oh,
now.
okay. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought it was called Final Spark.
Yeah. Lux, Ezreal, and Katarina are the only champions to be visually redesigned between being announced and being released.
And you'll see why later.
I mean, Ezreal was perfect. I don't know why they felt like they had to change that Mega Mind looking motherfucker.
No artifacts.
Lux and Garen are one of 7 pairs of sibling champions in game.
And most of them are pretty toxic. Someone at Riot has something going on with a sibling.
Her Star Guardian Lux's dance reference is Doki Doki Precure, and her recall is a Sailor Moon reference, unsurprisingly.
I never play that one. I'll
Yeah,
have
I
to
don't
look
use
at her
it.
recall sometime.
Yeah, it's kind of the transformation.
Okay, I would assume that's what it would
Pose.
be if it was
Yeah.
going to be anything.
Dope.
Neat.
Yeah, that's Lux.
That was Lux. We did it. It only took 2 hours.
A short 2 hours.
Right? Flew by.
Was it?
Barely even felt like 2. It felt like an
Very-
hour 50, didn't
A
it?
very light episode. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much for listening. We have a Twitter. It's at Loreheads. If you'd like to see some of the fun pictures we were just talking about, I'll probably post them. We also stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Loreheads. We usually play League on Saturdays, and then John plays TFT on Mondays. He's very close to Diamond. Who knows? Maybe by the time this is out, he'll be Diamond.
Or I will be less close to Diamond.
Or it's going to be one of the two. We post all the episodes on YouTube along with some fun musical parodies, and we have a Discord. The link is in the description of this episode. It's also tagged or pinned on our Twitter if you want to join us for funsies, fun times. We have a Patreon as well. Thank you so much to all of our patrons.
And a very special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons, Mylect, King of Hearts, Jeremy Rich, and D Smurfs. Thank you all, and if you were mages in Demacia, I would rescue you.
Aww.
I'll make you drink some Petricide. Heaven or hell.
And I'll go eat cake. Let them handle it. Be sure to join us next week for a much shorter episode, I assume, as we talk about Shard of the Monolith Malfight.